inspiring you to rise to the next level. This is a business story podcast. Join us as we invite influential entrepreneurs and organization leaders to share how they overcame adversities to pursue their purpose. Here's your host, Allysia Richardson. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another business story. For the month of May, I am doing my part to bring awareness to mental health, along with my special guest who decided to turn his pain into others' laughter. I want to introduce to you Bernard, the laugh therapist Hines. Before we get started, I want to give a quick disclaimer. It might seem like I am quiet throughout this interview, but I had to put myself on mute because Mr. Bernard had me laughing so much. Now, with that being said, let's jump into the podcast. There we go. All right. First of all, I know you. I know who you are, and I've actually sat in your comedy. I've actually watched your special, and obviously, I loved it. So,
Thank you.
tell me, for the people who don't know, tell us about who you are and what you do, and why you have the platform that you have.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Bernard Hines, aka the Laugh Therapist. I am a therapist, but I keep telling everybody I have a tagline. I am not licensed. I am just medicated. Okay. So I am a therapist, but I'm not licensed. I'm just medicated. And I always throw that out. So when I'm doing my shows, people don't take what I say and go and know I just give you that tagline. But I am a professional comedian. I've been doing comedy for 10 years. Reluctantly, I started doing comedy. I mean, I was always the barbecue comedian. I was always cookout comedian. You bring me, we're going to have a good time. And someone told me I should go and do comedy, and I decided to do it. But I took it to a different level as I wanted my comedy to be a type of therapeutic for people. I wanted people to get a message as well as get laughter. Because I do battle with P.T.S.D. from the military. I did 20 years, 7 months, and 4 days. I want all my time. I want every dime of that time. So that's why I always quote that. So I want to bring that message out that even though we have a mental illness or that we can kill the stigma of going to seek help one joke at a time.
And that's why I really love your platform. So to kind of go back to, of course, people said that, you should go into comedy, but what was it that actually made you decide to actually choose to talk about mental illness? Because for 10, you've been doing this for 10 years. So obviously that wasn't a topic of interest for a lot of people. So
right.
What made you decide to do that?
Well, for one thing, PTSD was destroying my life. I couldn't find, once I left the military, couldn't really find purpose. When you're in the military, you have purpose, you have, structure and stuff like that. So when I retired, I really didn't have no structure, it's like I was starting over again. I had to go to job interviews, I had to do this. I'm like, hold up, man, so it was a lot. But when I started doing comedy, it was just to try something. So I had different names. I had Reverend Peanut Butter and Jelly. I had Slim. I didn't know I didn't know what in the world I was doing. So when I went to sit down with a gentleman to really get professionalism about what I'm doing, he told me first, he said, man, look, you're going to have to change those names. Those names are not going to go anywhere. Nobody's going to book you. None of that. So he was like, we started brainstorming. He said, well, what got you through to where you overcame a little bit of your PTSD? I said, well, I started doing comedy. So laughter, and then by me going and talking to my therapist. And he said, okay, there you go. Call yourself the laugh therapist. And it was just that easy. And I was like, whoa. He said, that name, you can translate that name. You can go anywhere with that name because so once I really start looking at it and start going, into therapy myself and just saying, you know what, this is therapeutic. And it was really therapeutic for me. But when I started talking about PTSD on the stage, when I first started doing it, people were coming to me after the shows and was like, thank you. Thank you for speaking about that. Now I understand my brother a little better. Now I understand it was like a breath of fresh air to people that was like, wow, you are talking about this. And when I started doing my shows, I was connected with the Wounded Warriors. So I always had at least 60 Wounded Warriors and their spouses at the shows. So that was therapeutic. And one of the main things that really, it touched my heart when the wife came up to me and my wife and she was like, thank you for having things like this. My husband, I have not seen my husband laugh in a year. I haven't seen him smile in a year. And she said to see him out here laughing, and it was somebody that they could relate to. They could understand when I was talking about my issues and using it in a joking way. And my goal is just to let people realize that you can go and seek help. You can go and talk to somebody. You can go and they put you on meds, okay, all that good stuff. But we're only here to get better. And I have found my purpose and my passion, and it has really, really been a blessing to me, as others say, it has been a blessing to them.
Right. So you said something very, very strong when you started talking about your transition from military to finding your purpose. One thing, so my husband, he's still in the military.
Okay.
But when it comes to that mindset of that transition mindset from military to civilian life, we'll say, because we can use those terms, to civilian life.
Yeah, civilian life.
Right. So from that transition, how important was it for you? Obviously, it was a little hard to transition, but how important was it to you to actually make that transition from military to civilian? And I asked that question because a lot of people who come out of the military, they still use those same functions that they did in the military. So why was it so important for you to make that transition?
Well, it wasn't I didn't feel it was important. It just, see, when we came out, I retired in 2006. Okay, 6 months after I left Iraq, I retired. I didn't have no transition. I didn't know nothing. So I went back to what I knew. I went back to working for the Army. That was the worst thing I could have done. Because as my therapist told me, I never gave my brain time to heal. I went straight from in the Army to working with the Army. But now with soldiers who are transitioning out, they have better programs set up for them to transition. We didn't have that. We didn't, because the war was still going on strong. So our transition was, wow, I can't let nobody know I got a mental illness because I'm trying to get a job. And if I tell them I got PTSD, then I can't get a clearance. It was so much misunderstanding. So now when soldiers are coming out now, they have so many resources at their disposal for them to just do it. Right now, if a soldier comes out, he really already have his VA benefits or disability rating he can have before he even get out. We had to fight tooth and nail, had to let the folks know, we had to almost pee on ourselves to get the check, so like.
And that's still happening.
Correct. But the resources now is so, I'm not gonna say is a great thing, but they have it. People are aware of PTSD from the military. People are aware of a soldier having a traumatic brain injury or something like that, is not looked at as though, okay, now it's looked at as though, thank you for your service. How can we help you?
Right.
But the main thing is that person has to want to go and get help. That person has to want to go and get better. That person has to want to go and get those resources. So we can have all the resources in the world, but if that person that's transitioning doesn't realize I need help in transitioning, then it's not going to be, beneficial.
Right. And I get that. And there was a few times with what you're saying, as far as people have to want to get it. I worked on a Marine base, and I worked in records, and I would tell them that, you're going to need this because you're going to want to file for benefits. Literally the most, the biggest comment that I heard was, no, because I'm not going to file.
There you go. That's crazy.
And I said, you're literally missing out. You did so much time with the military, but now you don't want to ask for help. You're so trained that now you don't want to ask for help.
There you go. We were trained to suck it up.
Yes.
Yes. Until now you broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Wow. So did you coming out, did you know that you had PTSD, or that something was there, or was it kind of like a stumble upon?
Oh, I knew it.
Okay.
No, I didn't know it was PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had changed. But what happened was I went to Iraq twice. Okay, the first time I went to Iraq and I came back, I had PTSD then. That was the war fighting. We was in the, every day we didn't know we were gonna die. That was so when I came back, we trained to go back. So my mind was still in combat mode, but I did a lot of things. I was back home. I had my kids, but I was on edge. I could tell I was on edge. My anxiety was, and now that I look back, some of the things that I did, our friends of ours, they was having a function, and they wanted me and my wife to come. I told my wife, go ahead and go. I went and watched the softball game. Didn't even know who was playing. I just wanted to be by myself. And I didn't understand that because I'm not a by myself person. So when I came back, I went back to Iraq again. And when I came back, I knew something was wrong with me. I just didn't know. They wasn't calling it PTSD because when my uncle came back, they call it shell shock. They call it, he shell shock. He crazy. See, I wasn't going to be labeled that, but now you can call me whatever you want to call me now. I could care less. You know what I'm saying? You call. So that got to a point where, yes, I did. And I knew I had little kids. And one time, my daughter, she screamed and I lost it. It sounded like, and I said, oh my God, something's wrong with me. Something is wrong with me, but I didn't know how to go and seek help. And when I finally went to seek help, the lady told me I had adjustment disorder. I said, let me tell you something, lady.
Hold on, before you go. They will hit you with that adjustment order real quick so they don't have to pay you nothing. Oh,
correct.
Yes.
I was like, ma'am, I've been adjusted all my life. What are you talking about? I'm Black. I had adjusted everything. So that put a bad taste in my mouth. And I like, you know what? Right there. See, right there. Always want to try. So I had the attitude. But I wasn't getting any better. And I didn't trust nothing. I really didn't trust nobody because we was training up and we was training. When you go to war, don't trust nobody because you never know who's trying to kill you. So that was still in my system. I ain't trusted nobody. So it was my ex-wife, didn't trust her, didn't trust the kids, didn't trust my family. I just didn't. And they couldn't understand because I ain't gonna say the worst thing I did, but I moved back home. When I retired, I moved back home. When I left, I didn't have PTSD. But when I came back, I had PTSD. So everybody thought I was coming back the same as when I left. And they couldn't understand why I didn't want to be around a lot of people. I didn't want to, you know, they couldn't understand that. But I tried to tell them, learn about it. Once I found out exactly what I had, I told my family, learn about it, please. But that, yeah, I had it. And as you can see, I got it.
That I like that you brought that up. That was one of the things when I got out, they hit me with the adjustment disorder, and I went off on my family. I didn't know what to. I didn't know what to. I didn't know what was happening, so I literally had to put myself in a whole nother room, just so that I didn't hurt them, because I did not know.
That's right.
And so it wasn't until 2 years ago that I actually was diagnosed, not with PTSD, but with depression and anxiety.
Okay.
So I understand that. But for you, how important was it for your family and the people who surrounded you, your circle, to understand what you were going through?
Well, it was important because if you didn't understand what I was going through, you was going to get, as I say, Bernard, Christian, and Felix. You might get, you don't know who you're going to get one of them to, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but my marriage now, I must admit, my ex-wife was trying to get me to go seek help, and she was trying to tell me, but it just wasn't right. For some reason, it just didn't. But my wife now, she's really went to all my appointments. She stayed on top of it because she has no military background, none. So she came in this in love, and boom, love, love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. So she came into this marriage with a husband with PTSD, and I was getting my benefits for PTSD then. So I had been getting work, but she took upon herself to say, okay, I'm going to really find out about this PTSD and find out his triggers and find out this, and this. And she learned on the run. And now people know me. They know because of who I am and what. So everybody know I got PTSD. So if, like, I was at a neighbor's house, I was at my neighbor's house, and he was having a barbecue. Okay, and this was a while ago, and more people started coming. I say, look, bruh, no offense, I got to go. And my wife was sitting there having a good time playing cards. I said, baby, I got to go. You can stay, but I got to go. So he called me the next day. I had to apologize. He said, man, I understand you got PTSD. You ain't got to explain nothing to me. I was just checking to see was you okay. So I'm to a point now, you know what I stand for. You know what I am. Hey, if I say I got to leave or I got to be away or I can't make it, it's just what it is, because no is a complete sentence, and I got to look out for my mental health.
Yes, and that supports him. So your wife is awesome.
Thank you.
It took a minute for my husband to actually understand what was going on mentally, because first of all, it's hard for people with the mental illness to try to explain what's going on. So for someone else to actually come in and actually take the time to not just understand for themselves, but to also help you understand what's going on, and then to be supportive. So if you can't make something, or if you have to leave something early, that, first of all, you're dealing with the guilt of having to leave early. Well, you probably not no more, but you know, it still happens. Right. So the guilt of having to leave early because you do want to show your support, but having that person to back you up, because like you said, people are expecting this one person. And so if you say something by yourself, it's like, okay, whatever, guy, bye. All right, bye. But when you got somebody backing you up, like, no, you really, come on, we can go. We going together. He said no. It makes a difference. And it also helps steady your foundation as a person and understanding who you are. So that is support is important.
And see, the thing is, the military or the VA call her my partner. Call her my caregiver. Okay. But she started going to my therapist with me. I asked my therapist, could she come? And she was like, wow. People don't usually want their spouse to. I said, no, I want her there so she can tell you how I'm really acting. Because I ain't going to sit up and tell you, because I can't remember sometimes. So I want her, and our therapist told us that stop calling her my caregiver and call her my partner in recovery. She said, because when I call her my partner in recovery, that makes both of us have to do something. It makes her have to be my partner to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed, but it's also me having to do something too, go to my appointments, take my meds, because I'm partnering in this recovery. And that changed a whole lot.
Yeah, that definitely gives a different mindset.
Yeah, she said, because don't nobody want to be 45, 50 years old telling me something, I'm going to bed because I'm going to sleep with my caregiver.
Right. Because if you call somebody a caregiver, they're going to think you're a caregiver, and caregivers get tired after a while.
There you go. If you my caregiver, I ain't supposed to pick up nothing. I ain't supposed to pick up my socks. I ain't supposed to sit there and you my caregiver. So yeah. It's real.
Wow. So that is amazing. So if you where do you see laugh therapy going?
The thing I like about it, it can go anywhere. I mean, I have been to churches. I have been to the VA hospital. The strangest one I did, I ain't gonna say it's strange, it was strange to me, was I was at the spinal cord unit at the VA hospital. Now I'm telling jokes and these brothers are in wheelchairs, they laid on the bed, and the lady told me, she said, they are comfortable with their situation. She said, you just come in and you just do comedy. And it was strange not hearing the laugh, but they would. So, I mean, it was good, but laughter can go anywhere because everyone needs to laugh. Everyone, I don't care. Me and my wife, if we have a disagreement, well, we never have an argument. We have never argued in 10 years. We have had intense fellowship. We done had some intense fellowship. So even after that, we'll go back and we'll be like, that was crazy. I can't believe you said that. It's like you go back and you find out laughter is always have been a part of our life, because I met her at the Funny Bone. And she is so supportive of my comedy that I have done comedy in places I probably never even thought comedy would be accepted because of the name, The Laugh Therapist. And then people like, man, everybody needs to laugh, so that's it can go anywhere. There is no limit. There is no stopping ground, because whether you call yourself a laugh therapist or you just a comedian, when you out there and you making people laugh, you are enlightening lives.
Wow. So when it comes to putting your material together, how do you decide what's too far in your life? And I guess, how do you set your standards to what can be a joke and what's just like, no, that's just personal and not going out?
I'm an open book. My family, you hear me talking about my mother-in-law, she lives with me. You know what I'm saying? Talk about my kids. I mean, it's certain things that is not about going too far. It's about, is that acceptable to say in a crowd for comedy? Because I'm a clean comedian. You know what I'm saying? So is that acceptable to say in a crowd of people, regardless if I'm a comedian or if I'm just talking to people? Because I'm a Christian, so I represent God first. That's what I want to do. I want to represent God first. But when I get on that stage, I push it to a limit because I'm doing comedy to married couples most of the time. So I talk about my family. I talk about life. I talk about what people go through, and they can relate Like, you know, I talk about I'm sick of my wife's dogs. You know what I'm saying? And I had a guy stand up and say, me too. You know, it was like, so it's like, I try to keep mine into life, because when I started doing comedy, my grandmother was still alive. And I always wanted her to come and see me do comedy. So I knew I had to keep it clean. And it just always been that way. I never wanted to go another way. I support the other people that, you know, don't do clean. That's just their preference. And my preference is not to, because I have learned being clean, I can go anywhere. And not saying I'm just clean for this show, but just clean, period. You know,
a life of cleanliness.
Right. And I done been to the I done been to the prisons. I've done comedy in the prisons. I spoke and done comedies. So I don't believe there's a place that I really haven't. I've done small venues with 5 people. I've done big venues with my church. We had 10,000 people. So there is no, because this for me is really my therapy. You know what I'm saying? If I get rich from this, God, thank you. But that's not my goal. My goal is to see people, first of all, go seek therapy. That's my main goal, is to see people go and seek help. Now, your therapist might not be a therapist. Your therapist might be a life coach. But somebody, talk to somebody. Because we all got issues, and it's not just a military disorder. There's a lot of people with mental illness. If you grew up in a Black family, you got PTSD. I don't care what nobody says.
Listen. Okay, so I started looking up or asking about my family genealogy and things like that, and it's just so much. It's like all these different last names, people being adopted. I said, oh my goodness. So yes, absolutely.
And see, what a lot of people don't understand, and I learned to understand this, childhood trauma will affect you in your adult life if you don't deal with it. Period. It will affect you in your adult life if you don't deal with it. So I had to deal with some of that too, as well as, so you got to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, it would deal with you.
Mm-hmm. And your kids.
And your kids. That is true.
Yes.
Because at 12 years old, my daughter said, she's 17 now, well, she'll be 18 in January. She said, I'm scared of my daddy. And I heard her say that, and that messed me up. When she said scared, because I don't know, she might have been younger than 12, because I was always on edge. You know, first of all, I lived in Chesapeake and worked at Fort Eustis. So I would drive an hour and drive an hour there and drive an hour back. So I'm already on super edge when I get home. So when I get home, all they want to know is be with daddy. You know, but daddy got to decompress. Daddy got to do all this. You know, you come in, hey, So that's when I really got intense. And all of my family, my kids, my wife, all of them has been to a couple of my therapy sessions for my therapist to let them know how dad is. Because I don't want to rob them of their childhood.
So do your children play a part in as far as helping you to?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, yesterday, me, my daughter, my son, we was riding around. We were supposed to go to see my mom, and we were supposed to go and see my dad. But my dad wanted Zaxby's. Okay, now Zaxby's is over there in Chesapeake Square. He lives in Norfolk. He wanted potato salad with his Zaxby's. Zaxby don't sell potato salad. So now I got to go to Walmart at Chesapeake Square to look for some potato salad. I go into Chesapeake Square, Walmart, they don't have any cash registers anymore. Everything is self-checkout. The lines are wrapped around the corner. I start hyperventilating and I get anxiety. I threw that too. I don't know where I threw that potato salad, but I got up out that store, got in the car. My daughter said, Dad, breathe, just breathe, just breathe. just breathe. And she knows how to calm me down. She said, now what happened? And I told her, she like, okay, just breathe. He won't get no potato salad today. You know, so it was like, that's the type of stuff I could be going from a natural day to heighten, because it's like my mind is thinking, okay, how am I going to get this? And I got to get back at 6 o'clock and do this. So I'm processing a whole bunch of stuff and I don't know how to. So yeah, she plays a huge part.
Team is important.
Yes.
I can't, my team, you know, I just have my husband here, but I have people that I call.
Okay.
Like, so I'm pulled up to the store. I don't even walk into a store if I see a lot of cars in a parking lot. I purposely will, we're frozen. Oh, are we good? Okay, I thought we were frozen. But I purposely don't even walk into a store if I see a lot of cars in a parking lot. So I get exactly what you're talking about. I will call my friend and I'll say, hey, I'm just having a moment. I just need to talk through it and then I'll be okay. So yes.
I don't even feel ashamed. I don't even feel ashamed about that anymore. I used to feel ashamed. I don't even feel ashamed about it. It's who I am. I'm sorry. I'm unapologetic. That's just, you know. So yeah.
Wow. So that confidence will help in this type of community because there is so much shame around mental illness.
Correct.
It's so much because, you know, of course, in the Black community, it's definitely like you don't have mental illness. You just need to go to church and pray. But
I don't know if you saw my post the other day. I said I got a pastor and a therapist.
I think I did see that. And when I saw it, I think I said you need to put that on a T-shirt. Have you put that on a T-shirt?
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but oh man, I lost where I was going. So team, I was talking about team, the importance of a team. So in this community, your confidence is so important to be displayed. Just because that it's starting to become more, people are getting more educated around it and people are starting to understand it. And it's almost like, so my son diagnosed with autism. And so for the longest time, I've had to like teach people about it, tell them he's not, you know, they'll say, oh, he's normal, he's fine, ain't nothing wrong with him. And it makes me mad because it discounts all the hard work that you've put in to get where you are.
Okay.
So how can you put your confidence on display even more? Like, I know you talk about it in your comedy shows and you are who you are and there's no shame in it. What are some other ways that you display that confidence?
Well, someone told me, real good friend of mine, he said, man, don't take this the wrong way. He said, but you carry yourself sometimes that people probably don't even think you really have PTSD. You know, so when you say, how can you be more, people already probably think, man, he ain't got no, he just trying to get a check. He just, you know, they don't live with me. So there's really nothing more that, I mean, I just became a certified peer recovery specialist to help with mental health. And the only thing I know is to do a podcast. You know, I was thinking about doing a podcast, but it's just, people just gonna have to, that's a real good question, because I don't know what else I can do. I mean, I talk about it in my shows. I talk about it in interviews. I done talk to the military about it. So it's really up to people but you'd be amazed how many DMs I get from people just asking me, thank you for talking about XYZ, or do you know a therapist that I can talk to, or you know, so I do have that background relationship with people that, you know, ask, and what I tell them is, I'm not your therapist, okay? Don't look at me, or if we talk, I am not your therapist. My job is to gain your trust. Gain your trust and know that if I tell him something, it ain't going nowhere and he understands. Then it's my job to get you to the resource. I'm not the resource. I can be a stopgap. But that's what I want to be. I don't want to be. People say, man, won't you go and get your degree to be a doctor and a therapist? That's not what I want to do.
Okay. So what exactly is a peer recovery specialist?
A peer recovery specialist is a person that, what I just said, comes beside a person that's having a struggle with drugs, alcohol, mental health, and we get them resources that they don't know they have, or direct them to the resources.
How would someone be able to find you, outside of Facebook or website? How would someone be able to find you or someone else?
They would have, the best place to go is a place called NAMI, N-A-M-I, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Okay, but it does more than just mental illness. NAMI gives you groups. It gives resource. It's a national organization. So it's NAMI, N-A-M-I. If you Google it, it's National Alliance of Mental Illness. It says mental illness, but it does with alcohol, drugs, and everything else.
Okay. And okay, so this will probably be my last question. We'll see. But okay. It is, have you ever told a joke that got you in trouble?
Yes. Yes. I don't know about in trouble, but the lady scolded. She scolded. I did a joke and about, having to pay child support and stuff like that. And then when I said I went to the judge and he told me how much my child support was, I told him that I was looking at TV one day and a little white lady named Sally Struthers, she said for $1, you can feed a child for a month. I said, that's the child I want. I said, with that dollar child, I brush the flies off his mouth. I push in on his little stomach. Man, that lady came after that show. She was like, sir, it was an older lady, sir, you was funny. But please don't do that joke about them kids over there no more. Don't do that joke. I said, well, ma'am, she said, I don't care what it is. Just don't do that again. And I was like, yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And I didn't, I had been doing it for a while, but it just hit her in a way that she just didn't like.
Right. Which is typical in comedy. Something's always going to hit somebody the wrong way. It's always
hit somebody. Yeah. It just, yeah. Yeah. So that looking back, that probably was it. And I think the one about my son stuttering. And see, I stutter too. So I did one about him, and the lady didn't like that either. You shouldn't, lady, please. But
got you
doing it.
Okay. So how can people find you? And wait. Before I even go there, what do you want people to get from you most?
What I want people to get from this newsletter is, I call PTSD, well, society call it post-traumatic stress disorder, but I call it processing traumatic situations differently. I want people to realize that there is no one way to seek help. There's no one. Mine might be comedy, yours might be art therapy, yours might be riding a horse in the ocean. Whatever it is to help you process your trauma, you do it, long as it's legal. People be trying to tell, I just want people to get from this newsletter that the way you process your trauma, if it's benefiting you, continue to do it. Just because somebody else doing it their way, so be it, good for you. So it's processing traumatic situations differently. And that is on the t-shirt.
Okay. So where can people find you? And then also I will, if you could email me the different any events that you have coming up, any way that I can support you in putting that in the newsletter. I need all of that information.
Okay. Well, you can find me. I live in Chesapeake. Down is a 7-Eleven.
No. No.
Oh, you. Oh.
No.
Not okay.
We don't need all these people pulling up.
You can go to my website, www.thelaughtherapist.com. And if you like, I also have a little 45-minute comedy set that I did. It's only $10. You can download it to your phone. You can download it to your iPad, and you can look at it whenever you want to. That's on there. It's on the front page. You can follow me on all social media at The Laugh Therapist.